Hi there, I'm Des.
And I'm Tim, and together Des and I head up the men's ministry Momentum Australia.
Momentum has multiple functions, but primarily our aim is to help men to succeed in life, to do life better.
We run a weekly radio show that goes all around Australia where we talk about anything and everything that relates to men.
And you know, we encourage men to do life in community, to do life with other men where we can be accountable, we can be welcomed, we can be open and honest about what's happening in our world.
We'd love you to have a look around our website. That's momentumaustralia.org. There you'll find a bunch of resources to help you on your journey and all of our previous episodes and topics.
We thank you for your interest in Momentum Australia, and we hope you enjoyed this video today.
All right, well, welcome to this week's Momentum. It is so good to have you tuning in, whether that is you are in Australia or somewhere around the world via the podcast. It's great to have you here for the next half hour or so. Our website, momentumaustralia.org, is a great starting point to find out a bit more about who we are. You can find out some details about the stuff that we've talked about in the past as well. And this week's show is going to be an interesting one. We'll get to that in just a moment. As usual, I'm not alone. My co-host and good friend Des Kennedy joins us once again. How are you this week?
Oh, great, man. It's really great this is going to be a great conversation. I'm really interested in learning a lot about what we're going to talk about. We're keeping you on tenterhooks about what the subject is. But just while I've got the mic, guys, don't forget our CARELINE. If you're doing life on your own and you want a safe and confidential conversation, please reach out to the Momentum CARELINE, 1-800-000-MEN. Very easy number to remember, 1-800-000-636. And that's provided by our friends at CARELINE Connections. And also you can reach out to them 7 days a week from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m., 1-800-000-MEN. And also don't forget on your YouTube channel, Momentum for Men, you know, that we take all of our older shows and we have now put them on YouTube so you can see us as well as hear us. Bit scary on Tim's behalf, but it's all good.
Thank you, Des. I appreciate that. Look, if you're a bit like me and you're not particularly tech savvy, just go to the website, momentumaustralia.org. You can click into the YouTube there. But I will just kind of jokingly say, keep the CARELINE number handy. You might need it after this week's show, 1-800-000-636. But in all seriousness, it is there for you guys to have a confidential conversation around whatever that is. And we all need that from time to time. Let's be honest. We all need a confidential, safe conversation. You could do that, the CARELINE, 1-800-000-636. All right, time to delve into this week's show. It's going to be a little different this week due to the nature of the topic that we are about to unpack.
The CEO of Focus on the Family Australia, Brett Ryan, joins us once again this week, joined by his lovely wife, Kate Ryan, as we delve into the topic, menopause.
Now, as much as menopause is often jokingly referred to as men on pause, the truth is it is a major time of transition for a woman and can put a huge strain on a marriage and relationship. And so Brett and Kate join us to share a bit about their journey with menopause. Welcome, both of you, to Momentum.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure being with you once again.
I stand in awe that I get to be part of the men's business, secret men's business.
Secret men's business, right.
We're in awe that you've come on the show to talk about the secret women's stuff because let's be honest, this is a topic that we can trip up with as men.
Yeah.
So what is happening? I don't understand.
I just taught her the secret handshake and wanted secrecy.
Good. Well, let's start off with a few general comments about menopause, and Kate, feel free to correct me if I get any of these wrong.
Sure.
So menopause is the point in time where women have not had a monthly period for 12 months. Menopause marks the end of the reproductive stage of their life. Most women reach menopause between the ages of 45 and 55, and in Australia, the average age for women reaching menopause is 51 to 52. Symptoms during menopause include fatigue, hot flushes, night sweats, muscle and joint aches, tender breasts, and emotional changes, including stress and sudden changes to emotions.
To all the guys that are just wanting to tune out right now, stay with us.
Yes, stay with us.
This is an important topic, okay? There's also a perimenopause where women get lots of signs of menopause but continue to have periods, albeit often irregular. Once in menopause and then on into postmenopause, the symptoms may continue for somewhere between 4 to 5 years, but decrease in frequency. And ways to manage include lifestyle changes, hormone replacement therapy, and complementary therapies. Okay, that's the backstory. Let's jump to you guys. And Kate, I know this is probably going to put you on the spot a little bit. We'll try not to make it too uncomfortable for either of you. But I think it is important to unpack some of this for the guys. So, I mean, if you don't mind, I suppose let's start with your own experience. When was that for you? How long ago was that for you?
It was, for me, it was probably around 53.
She's a late bloomer.
Yes, for Australia. So around 53. And in the lead up, I don't know that I really put my finger on that there was a lot going on. But it hit me with a vengeance with the hot flushes. Oh my goodness. And we were able to laugh about it, but I'm you picture getting hot, you can go hot or you can go cold. Well, it was on steroids. So I would just stop and I'd get sweat across my mustache. And we were over in America, and it was hot. And we went into a department store, and all of a sudden one just hit me. And Brett just turned and looked at me and went, oh. And he goes, you are just dripping with sweat on your face. I said, my face, it's running down my back. It's running down the back of my legs. It was just, and then I got through it. 5 minutes later, another one. And I just went, oh my goodness, I don't know if I can do this all day, every day.
We call it a personal summer.
Yes, a very delicate, we call it a personal summer.
That actually made it, it softens the blow,
yes,
rather than keep on, identifying that I can see it happening, this is just one of many symptoms, but there was one that was very obvious.
And he said, so you're having a personal summer. Yes, I am.
And so we had a bit of a laugh about it. And even Kate had a friend who bought a special.
My daughter-in-law's mum bought me a personal fan that goes around your neck, and you press it on and it just blows air up your neck. Oh my goodness, what a difference. So we've been able to have a lot of laughter around it because, we're, especially amongst women, I mean, we're all going to face it. And so she's come up a little slower than I, because she's a few years younger than me, but now she's in that. And I said, do you want to borrow your fan?
Do you want to borrow the fan?
So that was probably the first thing that hit. So
can I ask, at that stage, had you guys talked about this, like knowing that you were coming to that age? Did you guys sit and have a discussion before you had the symptoms around, hey, this is coming up?
Well, I mean,
the
premenopausal stage, that her periods were becoming a little bit more erratic, not as regular. So there was something happening, and we've been always very open and transparent with what's going on, and that's a very, very blessed situation to be in. We know that many couples aren't always in that state, that they keep the conversations going, but nothing's taboo. We want to keep that open and honest conversation, and that's been very, very helpful for now and moving through this season, and will continue to be, as long as we're open and honest and willing to talk about some of the feelings, the emotions, the physiological symptoms which you've identified, and even just how, from a guy's point of view and from a woman's point of view.
And look, women, I had thought about it, it's in the back of my mind, because I come from a family of women. And so what they had experienced, and I've just got to say that none of it was particularly good. And so in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, what am I going to get? What's going to be my story? I watched my mum. I had to go on HRT, and she tried to go off it at one point because, they were talking about it connected to breast cancer and all of that kind of stuff.
To let everyone know, HRT is hormonal replacement therapy.
Yes,
just to fill you in that information.
Yes. And so she tried to go off. She'd been on it for a few years, and then she tried to go off it. Well, she went off her head. She went raging, and then she went depression. And so then she went and lived with my aunt because she wasn't coping. And I'm like, well, now my mum's disappeared. And so, I mean, she recovered once she got back on it, within the month she was back level again. But so for me, I'm like, oh gosh, is this going to be my story?
One of the key things you said off air before we actually started the interview was the importance of you guys being great friends.
Yes.
And that's such an important message for men and women in this camp. Talk a little bit about how you maintain that friendship Because obviously emotions were raw and so forth.
Yes.
Des, it's a great question because it's actually a question that we've been posing even in this last few weeks, because all the research, both secular and Christian research, would actually say that the health and well-being of a long-term relationship is based on friendship.
Yeah.
And how does that happen? Is it just naturally you're friends, or do you have to continue to work at it? And we've been asking these questions
to other
married couples. What do they do? And I think it is a key is that you enjoy each other's company. It doesn't mean you have to be in each other's pockets all the time. And in fact, it actually helps that you do separate things of interest, that you are more interesting because you've got other interests, but to find things that have a commonality. And I mean, Kate and I, we play cards nearly every day, and it's not, just interacting with one another, but we have deep and meaningful conversations. We have laughter. We listen to music together. We listen to a podcast together. We find those things, those connection points. And then through that, we actually enjoy each other's company. And I can't even imagine my life without Kate being there by my side.
Yeah. Who wins at cards?
Well, it's a combination right now. So
all right.
we play cards because we're empty nesters. We play cards while we eat.
Oh, cool.
And so we play cards, we talk, we laugh, we have breakfast or lunch or whatever it is. It's a really lovely way just to connect and have a bit of laughter.
Fantastic.
So, yeah, but the friendship, and I think one step back from that is if we've got children, or, some people haven't had children, but if you've had children in your home, and you've made them very child-centric, and you've lost the marriage kind of closeness of relationship. You might still be having sex or whatever, but your relationship, your friendship has been left to flounder a bit. And so when your kids leave, that's already floundering as you're going to hit the menopause next stage. And so we've got to be very mindful to build our relationships separate from our children, because our children leave. We were a family before they arrived, and we'll be a family when they leave, but they are going to leave. So we've got to be very mindful to build our relationships.
That's really good. Hey, because I mean, let's be honest, in the chaos of the years with kids, we can lose each other, and it's just we're literally just getting through this stage. And then, of course, you get to the other side and the kids leave, and then you kind of look at each other and go, okay.
Best in your relationship continuously.
And the best gift, I mean, I don't think we understand this. We think, our children just need us to be in their lives. But the best gift we can give our children is to love them, their other parent. So for the wife to love their husband, the husband to love their wife. And to do that, they've got to see that we're in love.
Yeah.
And each other first.
So they like the yucky love stuff, everyone. Just listen to that. They like it. And they might say things like, get a room. And I say, from your lips to Kate's ears.
It is. We've got to be very mindful that that's the greatest gift we can give our kids. So to be child-centric is not what they need.
Yes.
They need to
I remember
that in love.
Growing Kids God's Way, which I did many, many years ago, was very much about couch time.
Yes.
And how good and beneficial that was actually for the kids to see mum and dad conversing at the end of the day, having time together. Actually, that visibility of seeing them together on the couch was actually so good and reaffirming for kids. There was a safety and a security in that.
That's right. We even had our 21-year-old see Brett and I kissing one time in the kitchen, and we turned around and he's taking a photo. And he actually put it on the internet. Get this. And says, Mum and Dad getting hot and heavy in the kitchen. and Brett had been doing a thing on
I was writing an article, Foreplay Starts in the Kitchen. I was doing some research. And
so he puts this out there, he got a lot of likes. And then we're like, oh gosh. Anyway, so he comes and sits at our counter in our kitchen, and he says, I can't tell you how secure it makes me feel when you guys are like this. And he was 21.
Wow.
Awesome.
That's great.
But let's go back to you guys, because we kind of started unpacking them. We talked about friendship, which was a really great segue. And I think actually a really, really important thing to note, to maintain the friendship throughout the marriage and through the crazy years with the kids, so that when you hit this stage in life, you're not looking at each other like complete strangers. You've still got that connection through friendship. But let's come back to your journey. Kate, if we start with you, we talked about the personal summer that
Yes.
you were having on a regular basis, and you guys made a bit of a joke out of that with the sweats. But tell us a bit about the journey from there and how your menopause kind of progressed through there,
Yeah.
and what sort of other symptoms did you
Yeah.
experience?
So it wasn't nice. I'm just going to put it out there.
Yeah.
It wasn't good. And so, if we're going to get honest, down in the ladies' private areas was extremely dry and also painful. There were days where I could barely walk. And I'd just cry. So the very thought of any intimacy that way was like a big no-go because I could barely walk. And, I said to Brett, oh my goodness, is this going to be my lot in life, our lot in life? It was awful. And I ended up going to see a gynecologist, and she... I couldn't believe her. She goes, oh, well, dear, that's kind of the age you're at. And really, you're just going to have to put up with it. I can give you a little bit of cream and we'll probably do a hysterectomy. I said, hold on a minute. First of all, that's the one part of me I don't have problems with. So, maybe let's not do an operation on a part of me that's not got a problem. She goes, oh, well, you probably will in the future. So let's just, no. I walked out of there so disheartened that I had no insight into what was going on. And I got into the car and I said to Brett, now what? Because she was just dreadful.
Then I suggested a second opinion.
Yes. So I ended up doing a bit of research just on, what was it called? The special gynecological clinic for women. And I made an appointment, not with a lot of hope, but I had talked to a few women who'd been to these specialized clinics, and oh my goodness, she was amazing. And, she put me on special pessaries. So I just Vagifem for any men who want to talk to their wives about it, Vagifem. And because I had cracks, fissures, I kept getting urinary tract infections. And so I would get one every second month, and it would last and that would just make everything worse. So then I had trouble urinating, and in pain, I'd sit on the toilet and cry. And, it was awful. And I had a girlfriend whose mother had an operation and had a catheter, and she said she was getting urinary tract infections. So use Eurofem. So it's all along the same line. And so I just take a tablet called Eurofem, and the urinary tract infection stopped. Just like that. So I started with the pessaries of Vagifem, taking a tablet that was a Eurofem, and oh my goodness, my life just changed. And there's two options. You can go cream, but that's like for women, it's just leaks, so you don't like that. So a pessary you just put in at night, and it's tablet, and so it's clean and whatever. That was probably the hardest one, wasn't it?
But added to the physiological symptoms of it, you have to also acknowledge that even though we're in love and we care for each other, just the change of season means that she's not as interested in intimacy. In that form of intimacy. She wants to show her love and affection towards me, but it's just not practical. So for men to go through this and observe this, they didn't choose this. This is it's a natural occurrence. They're not doing something to despite you. They're not doing something to reject you intentionally, although it may feel like it, because men want to be wanted, and men want to be able to be connected emotionally and physically and intimately, but at this season it wasn't practical. So I have to show grace, and I have to admit it is frustrating, and it can be a real tension, and you start questioning, am I loving her enough? Is it me? I'm not being a good husband. I'm not showing the care and concern that she has. But she also had to continually reinforce, it's nothing, you have done nothing wrong. You're you're a good husband, and I'm not saying that to, you know, blow my own trumpet. It's not easy for me, but it's not their choice. This is part of the nature of their development, and I have to show that compassion and understanding, and not force her and not to make her feel guilty. But I have to say, I didn't always succeed in that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, you're human. You're human.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I would say that to him. If he'd say, "Oh, I failed you," I'd say, "What? You're human." Imagine that.
But
guilty as charged.
Yeah.
But great reminder, Brett, also, I mean, because again, and thank you, Kate, for jumping in with that, because to be honest, it's like we can take that as rejection as men, let's be honest.
Yeah.
And we can get agitated with that rather than going, actually, I don't think she wants this to be happening as much as it's affecting me. Like, this is actually not even about me, really. One thing we haven't talked about was moods and hormones and that sorts of things. Kate, did that all kick in for you as well? Did you notice that there was a shift in your moodiness, your mood swings, perhaps?
I wasn't really moody. I probably could cry more easily, but I wasn't angry. Like, I didn't just fly off the handle or...
Kate went through the menopausal stage a lot easier than some of her peers, some of her girlfriends would share their experiences. So we're not the typical couple going through menopause. Well, but we also, there's the physiological changes, most definitely. But Kate didn't have the extreme mood swings that many people have, or agitation. We tried to, and Kate's very good at this, choosing joy despite the circumstances. And that's been very intentional.
Wow, that's good.
You're making a choice, I think, in all of it. So men make a choice to go, okay, she's walking through this. It's going to be a hard slog, especially if they are moody. It's going to be a hard slog, but I didn't marry them just to get sex, or I don't love them just because of this or that. It's making a choice that I chose them right in the beginning. They're walking through something. This is a natural thing that they have to walk through. So I'm going to make a choice, and it's hard. I'm not going to say it's easy, but you have to make a decision in sickness and in health. So now they don't have a choice, but I am going to say this, that women need to make the choice to be proactive.
Yeah.
So you can't just say, "Oh, I'm walking through it, but I'm not seeing a doctor, and I'm not going to do this because I'm not going to go on HRT." There are so many other things you can do. So I noticed that I was exhausted. I had, if you look at some of the symptoms, exhaustion, pain, joint pain, low libido, the low, just everything. Everything's low. And everything's just low. I have low iron, low B12. And so I went to an integrated doctor, because I thought I needed somebody who's well-rounded, and I actually found a Christian one. And so he's a normal doctor, which has done the further study into this other area. And so I went to him, and he did all these tests. Well, I have virtually no progesterone, no estrogen, and no testosterone. And I go,
she's got the trifecta.
I've got the trifecta. I have no what's called DHEA, which is the hormone that creates all the other ones.
Wow.
And so he said, well, I said, can I just take one of those creams or something? An estrogen cream or something cream. And he goes, Kate, there's no point, because that's just a Band-Aid. We've got to try and get you some DHEA so it will create.
Oh, right.
So now I'm on medication for that. And I've got to say, it has made a huge difference just on that. And they also found that I was my thyroid, underactive thyroid, all tied in with this. And I think it's because I'm not producing anything, which created another thing.
I think that was key, that Kate was very proactive. So if there's, you can't just say the man has to be the one who has to take a back seat and put up with it. Women need to look at other options and to work on their physiological body changes, but also even their emotional and the relational changes, and to talk it through, not to do this in isolation, and to be sympathetic to both parties during this journey.
And I think
I don't think flying off the handle, you know how the mood swings, okay? When we fly off the handle as women, and it's not usually who you are, you know you're doing it. And you hate that you're doing it. But if you do it, you do need to apologize and say, I'm so sorry that you've been at the end of my blow up. I just felt so out of control. And I know that I have done that, not because of hormones, but because I had a B12 problem. And so that was the neurological thing. And I am not a yeller at all, but with virtually no B12 in my system, I became a totally different person.
She could hold her own in the shouting match. And,
my goodness. I am not joking. I went from being a very mild-mannered person to screaming at Brett. You know, he was interstate. He was interstate, you know, speaking on marriage. Look at the irony of this. And I'm ringing him and I'm screaming at him. And I got off the phone and I had 1 ounce of insight. 1 ounce. I rang his best friend and I said, he needs you because I am off the planet.
Yeah, wow.
So could you ring him? And it was like one little glimpse, but I rang my mum and I said, I hate everybody. I hate everybody on the planet. I just want to get on a plane and go somewhere else, but I know there's people there too.
We're actually running out of time again on this interview, as we would. But just finally, both of you, Brett and Kate, can you give the listeners, men and women, 3 or 4 really powerful bits of advice that would help them navigate this journey?
In no priority order, I'll give it from my point of view, is that obviously I've already said showing grace and understanding and compassion. The lack of intimacy doesn't excuse a man to find other alternatives to relieve themselves. And that could be through pornography or seeing outside of infidelity and affairs, or even just,
emotional
affairs. Or even habitual masturbation. There's all those things. You can't use it as an excuse, but that's when you have to talk to your spouse about your feelings, and for the wife to be understanding about that, what she could do to help navigate this dry season.
There are other ways to be intimate.
Yeah. And I think it's important that Kate often says, this too shall pass. We'll get through this. Yeah. And there is light at the end of the tunnel, but it's just this intense season. And if you're doing it together, it will really certainly help. And for us with a faith, we've included God in our conversations to pray to one another, pray to him, and we're praying together to help navigate this, for wisdom and insight, and for patience and for grace.
And the more you focus on something, the worse it gets. So if we move our focus to God, and that's the same with anything in our life, we've got to bring it to God, because he carries our burdens. And for men who are on the other end of it, it's a huge burden for them to carry. But at the same time, women, it's a huge burden for them because they've done childbirth, they've got periods, they're hormonal there, and then they go to menopause, they're empty nesting, and so there's a whole long liturgy of things that they walk through. And so the importance of running to God, the importance of running to each other. The problem is when we're stressed and unhappy or whatever, we tend to pull away. We've got to make a decision to go, I'm running towards you even in this painful time.
So leaning into God
and just saying, I love you. As a wife, you need to know that your husband still loves you, because you can feel pretty unlovable and unsexy and a whole lot of other things. And you just need to know that your husband still thinks you're beautiful, even though you can be feeling, like your insides are dropping out, or, all of that. You feel disgusting. And your husband says, I think you're beautiful and I love you.
It's powerful. Thank you for sharing. And can I just say, the one thing that you did throw out there too was, in the moment when you were yelling, to pick up the phone to Brett's good friend and say, he needs you.
Yeah.
Powerful insight. And
God, that was Brett, a God insight.
We don't have time to hear your side of that story, Brett, but what I will say off the back of that is, guys, we do need each other. Through various stages in life, we do need to keep connected. And that is the heart of Momentum, essentially, is for guys to not do life in isolation, whether it's menopause, a marriage breakup, a job loss, whatever it may be. Guys, get connected, stay connected through life. And I will point you back to the CARELINE, which I did jokingly do at the beginning of the show. 1-800-000-636. That number is there for you guys. Whatever is happening in your life, do not feel like there is no one you can talk to. There is confidential people that you can have a confidential chat with, safe people on the phone, 1-800-000-636. And of course, our website, momentumaustralia.org. Kate and Brett Ryan from Focus on the Family. Wow, what a powerful, powerful topic. Thank you for being so open and honest in sharing so vulnerably, Kate particularly, and guys for coming on and sharing your journey. Hopefully that helps people listening. I know we have certainly learned some stuff, I'm sure, and about the importance of this season and staying connected. So thank you guys. Really appreciate it.
More than welcome. If you'd like to have some more information on this, our website at Focus on the Family Australia is families.org.au. We have a number of articles on this particular topic.
Great. That's good.
Thank you. I meant to do that. I meant to give you a website.
Thank you for watching this week's show, and we hope you subscribe to Momentum so that you can find out what's happening in the shows in the future.
Absolutely. And keep an eye on our website too. That's momentumaustralia.org. There you'll find all of our shows and a whole heap of resources to help you on your journey. That is momentumaustralia.org.
Until next time, keep moving forward
with Momentum.